On this episode of the Goal Line Fade, and we didn't think we were going to get to talk any more basketball. Psst, play the music. Welcome to the Goal Line Fade, a Dallas sports podcast. I am Zach, your host, with my RB1, Brian. And we are here today to talk more Mavs. Like I said in the header, we thought we were done talking for a minute, but we got more and more and more and more. But first, we roll into the news that's been going on. Brian, how are you, man? How's it going?
I'm good. Just here at the crib with some dogs that are go-win nuts. And yeah,
most of our listeners have dogs. They get it.
Absolutely.
It. Mine will wait. She's cool right now.
Yeah,
but she's about to go nuts. But continue on,
yeah.
sir. Continue on.
Yeah. Other than that, I finally saw A Quiet Place 2. Finally saw it.
Did I oversell, undersell?
No, it was terrific. It was very good. Not as good as the first one, but by like that much. Like not noticeably. Yeah, it was terrific. It was very good.
Damn fine for a sequel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Like I was so impressed.
I don't know if you saw, but they're doing a third one that is going to be kind of not an alternate timeline, but essentially it's going to have a completely different cast of characters. It's not going to be this same family, and it's going to be a different family's adventure through the same, Armageddon, whatever you want to call it, extinction event.
I wonder if, since I don't want to say anything spoilerish, I wonder if the paths will cross though.
Oh yeah, it'd be cool.
I do think that will be a thing.
Yeah, with the way the second one ended.
Yeah.
It could. I don't want to spoil anything either, but yes, absolutely, that'd be cool.
Well, heck yeah, man.
So,
well, heck yeah. Well, with me, I'm glad you saw A Quiet Place. Tara and I started watching Sweet Tooth. My wife and I started watching. Have you heard of that show?
I've heard of it. I have not watched it.
Have you watched Loki, by the way?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I have not. I haven't watched either episode. I need to watch it. I've heard it's very good.
It's terrific.
I love it. I'll probably watch it tonight, actually, after the gym, honestly. As soon as we finish recording, I'm going to go work out and then make dinner with my wife when she gets here about 6:45ish, and then I think I'm going to watch that or watch Sweet Tooth. Very weird. I don't know if I like it. We're in 2 episodes in. I don't know. We started watching it because we were in Fredericksburg last weekend, not the weekend that just happened, but the weekend before, which was awesome. Real, great food, wine, beer, everything amazing. I probably gained like 7 or 8 pounds that weekend, but we were like not bored, but everything closes at 10. So we weren't ready for bed yet. So we were still up, and like we'd logged onto the smart TV in our room, and somebody named Bill had left his Netflix account logged in, and he had just watched Sweet Tooth. So we're like, well, let's see what Sweet Tooth is about. So we watched the first episode down there, and then we watched episode 2 last night. Interesting. It's about sickness and mutated babies being born. Which one came first, but people blame the mutated babies, and it's I don't know where it's going, but it's got me intrigued a bit. Got me intrigued. I'll keep watching.
Fair enough.
We'll see. So yeah, we didn't record last week. Unfortunately, I had a death in the family, so was not able to kind of make it work. And I'm kind of not glad we didn't record. It's never a good thing to not record, but man, the news came out Wednesday and Thursday, or was it Tuesday and Thursday, right?
Yeah, Tuesday and Thursday.
And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Donnie Nelson, the GM for the Mavs, he's been with the Mavs for 24 years overall, was fired on Tuesday, which came out of nowhere, by the way. And then Rick Carlisle 2 days later, after saying, because his name was popping up in rumors about the Milwaukee job if Milwaukee was eliminated, being a top candidate. And he emphatically said, this is before Donnie Nelson got fired, though. He said that he was not going to go anywhere. So yeah, he quit. He stepped down. And in his thank you, did not mention Luka at all. He did say all of his players, so you can take that for what you will. But he didn't specifically say Luka's name in there. And there's been a lot of crazy reports that Brian and I are going to talk about that have come out this last week, between the Low Post on by Zach Lowe, between just local media. Just we're finding out a lot of stuff we had no clue about, really, about relationships and such.
And so it all started with that report in The Athletic. That was the
Tim Cato. Yeah.
And I can't remember the other writer's name, but yeah, that was kind of the genesis of this entire shitstorm. And so for those of you listening, if you have not read that article, go find it, because it's a very good read. And then you'll fall into a rabbit hole of Maverick shitstorm that we're about
dysfunction and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of, what's crazy to me right now? I'm thinking about undos. That's like the theme, I think, of the podcast right now, because Carlisle is no longer here. And Brian and I have notably talked about how much we hate being a strong word, but I think it's strong here. Like Rajon Rondo, for instance. And it's totally Rick Carlisle's fault that we hate him, because he went everywhere else and won.
Yep.
And did very well, was a great teammate, and Rick didn't make it work. There was a narrative that you and I talked about. We mentioned it on the pod as well, about players coming here, and it's been emphatically stated by people in the circle and the know about players not wanting to come to Dallas because of Rick, which is something that's intriguing to me as well, because, he's a great coach, but it just shows the difference in coaching in football and basketball. Yep. Players don't really want a Popovich type coach. They want a coach that will make smart timeouts, that will motivate them, that will help train them, understand the rotations, like that, the jigsaw puzzle of it. But they want somebody that's going to let them do their thing, is what I'm kind of gathering from just the data and everything. So,
yeah. So like a couple of things. One, you and I on multiple occasions have come to the defense of Rick Carlisle.
Sure.
To this, because we've talked about whether or not, there was rumors that are not rumors, but there was a movement in the Dallas Mavericks fan base, people who wanted him fired and da. You and I both were not for them.
Right.
With all that being said, and I still stand by all those things that we said, there were some notable downsides and even more negatives that we didn't know about until this last week or so's revelations, that make it to where, I think at the end of the day, I'd still rather have Rick Carlisle here than not, but I'm not crying about it. I think we could feasibly walk out of this situation better off than we were before.
Here we go. Here's my question for you. Okay. And I totally do mean to cut you off, because I haven't heard it asked. I asked a coworker about it today. So I 100%, and I know it's apples to apples, dude, or apples to oranges, whatever cliche you want to use.
Yeah.
But I am 100% emphatic that Dallas should have lost to Phoenix yesterday in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. The shortcomings in Game 7 were because of Carlisle's coaching, and we talked about this on our last pod. The playing Trey Burke out of nowhere. I mean, it's just, what are you doing, man? Like, there's so many things that happened in that game that were just bad decisions on the coaching part.
Sure.
So let's just back it up, because we matched up well with Utah, and I do believe either it's brink or that's a win. And I had them beating them. We did our $1 million bracket, man. I had Dallas versus the Lakers in the championship, and Lakers winning in 5 is what I have. And I truly believe that Lakers and/or Suns, if we could do it all over again, would beat the Mavs in 5 games, period, because both teams absolutely own. Those are the only 2 teams in the league. Well, them and fucking Chicago Bulls, apparently, and Houston. But that's another pod, right?
Yeah.
But they absolutely owned us, but I do believe the Mavs should have lost. But here's the ticker. If the Mavs make it to the Western Conference Finals year 3 of Luka, let's say that happens. Let's go to the Spider-Verse or this, whatever. Are they just running it back?
Yeah. Or close to it.
Are we going to be better because we lost the way we lost 5 years from now?
Again, okay. So I guess it depends. It depends on how it happened, right? If it was one of those things where Luka balls out of his mind, let's say hypothetically, Game 7 against the Clippers comes up, and Luka goes out of his mind for 55, 17 and 12 or something like that. And then we get to Utah and we're able to just, go through Utah in 6 games relatively easy because of how they're set up in the matchups. I don't necessarily think that they completely run it back exactly as it is, because I think even if Luka had balled out of his mind and we were in the Western Conference Finals, I think we would still be able to look at this team and go, yeah, but the only reason that's happening is because Luka is playing as good as anyone's ever played ever, right? And still see that there's room for improvement. But I think the way that the exit happened, I think in the long term, we will be better off for it, because there is more. There is a brighter light being shined upon not just the roster but the entire organization, partly because of the way everything went down. It's a lot of shakeups are coming because of how everything went down.
And if we were recorded last week when the breaking news happened, I kind of like how our podcast is kind of as the dust has settled here. We've kind of had a week to reflect on everything. If we could have recorded a podcast just reacting to what happened with Donnie, one thing I would have said about Rick was he's on borrowed time right now because a new GM is bringing in his guy. Yep. And both of us had said before, when Donnie was still here, this is probably the year. Like, hey man, they got that close to winning a playoff series, an aggressive summer, and then it's getting close. Like he wins the playoff series, maybe that would have loosened the leash a little bit, but we're like, it's getting close. We think that we're getting close to being there. And last podcast we were talking about Jason Kidd, and I had mentioned to you that I thought it was funny he pulled out of the Portland job or wouldn't even interview for it. And I said that I think Jason Kidd's holding out to see what happens with Rick Carlisle and what happens with the Lakers. And you're like, well, Rick's not going to go anywhere. I'm like, I think he's still holding out though. I think he's even willing to be an assistant for a year to see how it pans out. And here we go. The Dallas is an opening. They've discussed internally him already, but they want it to be the GM's decision. I think it's a 2-man race for the head coaching job. I think it's Kidd or Mose.
I don't know, man. I was reading a report earlier by one of the guys that does the Locked On Mavs podcast. I can't remember who it was.
Isaac Harris.
It might have been Isaac Harris. Either who's the other one? Nick Angstead. One of those two. I can't remember. But they were talking about how essentially we're going to hear a whole lot about Jason Kidd, but that their sources within the team say that there's about a 2% chance that would ever happen, just because of the way Mark feels about Jason Kidd and the reputation that Jason Kidd has around the league as a backstabber.
Okay.
So I don't know. I look, I would be open to it, because I think if there is any coach out there that, other than maybe Steve Nash, that would be perfect for Luka, just specifically for Luka, Jason Kidd might be that guy.
Honestly, it's Kidd or D'Antoni would be the perfect for Luka.
Look, he's old as dirt, but I would take D'Antoni in a second.
I like Mosley's youth. Yeah. I like Mosley's youth and the fact he's one of those coaches that's like, he's in good enough shape to like play with them. Like he'll come on the court and show what kind of defense they're going to throw at him and how to overcome it. So there's a good hands-on approach there as well. Yeah. The legacy thing of Jason Kidd, that would be kind of cool. The fact that he was with Dallas and drafted and then he was traded away. Then he was traded away again, made the finals, but twice it wasn't enough, lost, traded back to Dallas when we were slumping, and then finally got over the hump and won it. That'd be interesting because this will be his third stop coaching. You know, he's already been fired. It would be a cool story, but I'm not about cool stories. I think the one thing, whether it would be in D'Antoni, which I think is a long shot, I think Mosley is the favorite right now.
Yeah.
Or
by the way, like the betting, if you look at Vegas's betting odds, he's the favorite by a massive.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Massive amount.
I think they're all coaches that players like and respect and would want to play with, and that's a plus. That's a huge plus. That's one thing we need right now is that.
Yeah, a player's coach. We need a player's coach badly. Again,
speaking of players, as the dust settles on the NBA and we have 4 teams left standing, right? You know, I got my butt hurtedness lasted about the first 3 games of all the series, the second round of being, you know, so heartbroken over the Mavs being eliminated. We've got Atlanta versus Milwaukee, and we've got Phoenix versus the Clippers, right?
Yep.
Would you trade KP straight up for Porzingis? Or not KP, for Ben Simmons? Would you do that?
I don't know, man. Like, I've heard a lot of people talking about it today. They were talking about it on the Fan.
It's all over. It's ESPN. It's the TNT guys. It's the Fan. It's all of them.
If it was completely straight up, I guess, yes, I would.
Yes, we would.
I don't, and to be clear, I don't love it, right? Because he's like him as an offensive liability is massive. But he does, yeah. I mean, massive.
Can I ask you a question? It's unrelated to the Mavs, but it is related to the Mavs.
Okay.
Take Embiid off of the Sixers, replace him with Luka, and you're starting Dwight Howard. Would that team have beat Atlanta?
Probably.
Yeah. That's your answer. That's why you do it. I think that is, he can guard everyone.
He can absolutely. That and his athleticism are the only, and his durability, because he is.
And the thing that no one's talking about, this I can claim my own. Since Dirk is the number 3 piece of big news, is back in the organization as a special assistant. What does that mean comes with Dirk?
I think
Holger is around. Holger can be around. Is that his name? His shooting coach?
Yes, but
that mean he helps?
Slow down. Pump the brakes, like slam on the brakes. Dirk is going to be here for about 15 seconds. It's going to be because he even said he's not willing to come on in a day-to-day capacity. He's coming on to find the GM, find the head coach,
and give Holger a permanent shooting job to help Ben Simmons.
No, but if we I'd love to see that. But the main reason why I'd be willing to do it, aside from Ben Simmons' athleticism and defensive ability and all that other stuff, is I think the reason why Ben Simmons has been such a disappointment is he's being misused in Philadelphia his entire time in Philadelphia, because they're treating, because of his passing ability, they're treating him like he has to be the one. He has to be the point guard. He has to initiate the offense. And with Luka, he wouldn't have to do that most of the time. He would do it some, and he would take a lot of that.
He could drive, man. He could body people up, dude.
He absolutely can. He just can't shoot to save his life. But he could be a couple of different things. One, he's large enough that you could get a really nice pick and roll going with him and Luka, with his athleticism.
Absolutely.
And then there's a pick and pop, but instead of a pop and shot, it's a pop and pass that you can get going with him and Luka, and then like Hardaway or somebody in the corner. There's all sorts of really interesting things they could do. So I would absolutely do it, but they're not gonna.
So there was a guard drafted in 1993 who they said call him Asen because he had no J. That would be Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
And he was notoriously a terrible. Let me add like 9 more terrible shooters, especially even at threes weren't as prominent back then, but it was really bad. Yeah. And we both know, because we're, Mavs super fans, that the things that were most important besides being a field general when he came back to Dallas was his 3-point shot was tremendous, especially on that playoff run for the championship. And then he can post up. So just putting it out there, I know the kid thing seems unlikely, but if anybody can help the man develop and get where he needs to go, we got Holger, we've got Kid. There's a lot of moving pieces. And like I said, that's not even my favorite one. There's trade KP for CJ McCollum stuff going on now.
I'd do that in a second.
Yeah. There's DeMar DeRozan signing as a free agent and then making KP your number 3 scenario, also, right?
Do that in a second. But
although DeMar DeRozan shoots like 2.1% from 3-point range.
Yeah, no, he like the I don't think. Oh well, let me back up here. DeMar DeRozan signing with the Mavs is only an option if Bob Voulgaris ends up leaving as well. Because Bob Voulgaris won't. He literally his whole thing is he is completely tied to analytics, and DeMar DeRozan is an analytics nightmare. He's a great baller.
Yeah, he's like a mid-range. He's old school, man. Yeah. He's a straight up like, yeah.
Yeah, and they like unless they get rid of Bob Voulgaris, he will not be on board with signing DeMar DeRozan, and that's
DeRozan will be a Laker. I think you heard it here first. That's my thing.
I could see him going to the Lakers. If Chris Paul goes somewhere else, I could see him going to the Suns.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
Woo. I don't know. Just heating up, man. We don't have any news yet. I know Cuban was talking shit to some Mav FFLs today because he was talking about cryptocurrency, and they're like, why don't you tell us about that? And he's like, I was having meetings all day today, actually, but not telling you what's happening. So we're getting close.
Sorry. One thing. This whole scenario, I have over the last 10 years become less and less and less and less fond of Mark Cuban. The last, 60 hours have made me dislike him so much more than I ever did even before. He is what Jerry Jones gets accused of being all the time.
Sure. That's what the reports, it's all out there, man. That's what I shared it with you.
Yeah. The hyper meddlesome, know-it-all, pain in the ass.
Because I was driving back from a funeral when the news broke, and I whipped out my phone because my wife has a very weak bladder and had to stop so she could pee. And I looked at my phone and I was like, I had just so many text messages from so many different people and then so many alerts. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? So I'm just soaking all of this info in. And yeah, a lot of it's on him. But the good news is in my opinion, I don't know of many situations where you get a rookie and before he signs his first deal, you're winning a championship. I don't, that's not really a thing that happens too often, right? Maybe Kobe and Shaq, but that was mainly because of Shaq.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Different scenario, okay? We know it didn't happen that way with Jordan, everything else. So in my humble opinion, the Luka clock to get this right starts July 1.
Yeah.
And that is when we can offer him the deal. I also expect for us to have a GM and coach before that day.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Because number one, I think they're going to try to have both locked up by the end of this week.
Yeah.
I really do. Because they want they know that they have one of the premium jobs out there. You know? Sure,
they do. Them in Boston, probably. And Boston seems to be just as effed up right now as the Mavs front office from what we're hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, CBS Sports ranked all the available coaching jobs in the NBA and had Dallas as number 2, and I agree. Again, Boston.
Who was 1? Portland?
No. Boston was 1.
Boston was 1?
Yeah, Portland, I'm with them. Portland was way down the list because Anyway,
they need to trade CJ McCollum, unfortunately, and that sucks because he's a good player and he's so loyal to that team. But they need to shake it up. It's just not happening with those two.
No, and there's only so much you can do with the roster that they have. So I think they definitely want to move as quickly as possible. I
would gladly give them Kleba, Powell, and KP for McCollum and Nurkic.
Let's go.
Like
yesterday. Let's go.
I mean, it doesn't seem like they would never take that deal.
No, of course not. But let's do it. Yeah. Can you imagine how quickly Dame would be asking for a trade if that was the big roster shakeup that he got handed? He'd be furious. But
do you think Oklahoma? We both know Kemba Walker, who has been rumored to be a Mav. It's funny because it's actually Al Horford's fault why Kemba Walker is not a Mav right now, because he opted out of his $30 million contract and went to Philly, which gave Boston enough money to get Kemba. And then Kemba was 100% coming to the Mavs, is what all reports say, and then went there because of the winning opportunity and everything else. He's with Oklahoma City now. We both know how that story is going to end. He'll be traded. I doubt it's like Al Horford, where Al Horford made it past the trade deadline with them. I would think that he'll be traded before them, if not this summer during the draft.
I would be surprised. I think they trade him. I think they trade him before the season starts. I legitimately would be surprised if they are not able to trade him. I wouldn't be surprised if they start talking about buyout.
Well, and he's another guy that was linked to the Lakers as well, and has been. If a buyout happens, watch out. I don't think the Mavs would be a trade partner for them because we have no draft capital, and that's apparently he wants 92 first-round picks over the next 5 years in Oklahoma City. So, yeah.
I mean, he keeps. You look at the amount of draft picks that they've collected. It's insane. I don't know what they're going to do with it. You can't even literally, if you drafted all those players, you couldn't have a single veteran player on the roster.
What free agent wants to play there?
Yeah.
What free agent in his right mind, like to see the way they hold these players hostage and they have no control where they go? Yeah. Who wants that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's the NBA. It's technically that situation everywhere else. But why would you willingly sign a contract there? You're not winning a championship with
SGA.
I mean, what's the last team that built like a young Golden State? That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Like without using free agency, and then technically half of their reign was with KD.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, when they did that, they got so lucky on some of those draft picks that it's just,
sure.
Draymond Green was a steal.
Oh, and then like Minnesota passing on Curry because they already had Rubio. Like we've already got a point guard.
Yeah, exactly. We're good. Yeah, no. So they got, that kind of thing. It doesn't happen. You don't build in the NBA that way.
Sure.
And the miss rate on draft picks is way too high. Unless you have top 2 or 3, the miss rate is just crazy high.
Even then, look at Markelle Fultz. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Ben Simmons is about to be traded.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was one of the biggest no-brainer draft picks.
Yeah, he was
the last decade.
He was, one of the rare situations in the NBA draft where there was no debate as to who the best player was and who was going number 1. And that doesn't happen very often, even in the NBA. So, let me ask you this. Who right now, because we haven't talked about the GM spot much. We've talked about the coach.
I don't know how to talk about the GM spot, bro, because I think it'll be Finley.
He's the odds-on favorite again.
Yeah.
I really, 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 really hope. I can't say his name. I don't know his name, but I know he's a fabulous GM. The dude from Toronto.
Oh, Measury?
Yeah, there you go. I'm not.
The dogs agree, so that's good.
Huh?
So the dogs agree, so that's good.
Yes, they are in lockstep with me. I would love, at least I just have that hope alive because I think he's one of the 2 or 3 best GMs in the league.
So correct me if I'm wrong. This is not something I researched, so I'm kind of talking out of my ass here.
Yeah, all right.
But you have to have a draft pick to pry a GM from somewhere, correct?
His contract is up. His contract is expired.
When right now?
Yeah, as of the end of the league year, his contract is expired.
So is that technically July 1st, or is that technically when their season ended?
No. It's the end of the league year, which is July 1st or June, the end of this month, or 12:01 midnight on July 1st is the first day of the new league year, and at that point, his contract with Toronto is expired. He is free to negotiate right now, and he could agree to terms with another team to become their GM, and then they would sign it on July 1st. So it would cost us nothing. He is available, and he has spoken publicly about not being sure if ownership in Toronto is really looking to win right now. That doesn't sound like a GM who's ready to come back.
Well, Kawhi Lowry is going to walk for nothing.
Yeah, well, dude, Lowry's going to walk. I mean, think about this hypothetically. Let's say we bring him in, we sign him as the GM. He's automatically Lowry's going to walk, so he's got a foot in the door with Lowry. He's got a connection there.
And
DeRozan, exactly. And there was another. Kawhi Leonard.
And Mark Gasol.
Absolutely. I'm not saying, and obviously I'm not saying that we would or could sign all four of those players, but those are four significant free agents that he would have connections to that could be very interesting. And part of the reason, aside from how good he is, that I'd be interested in him or someone like him is I kind of just want a fresh start. You know what I mean? Across the board, I love Michael Finley. I will always love Michael Finley.
That's where it all started. That's the that trade that involved Kidd. He was a throw-in piece at the time, and he ended up being an all-star player. And
I mean, in my opinion, he's probably my fourth favorite Maverick of all time. But because it would be his first time being a GM, it would work. And I'm not saying this would happen, but there's the possibility of him getting run roughshod over, and basically being a GM in name only, and and Bob Voulgaris and Mark Cuban just doing things exactly how they want worries me. So if he's going to come in and do things his way and have a good game plan and do it right, fine. I just don't want status quo from the last 2 or 3 years. If the reports that you read in, like what we read in The Athletic, is accurate, I don't want any part of that.
Right, that it's just Cuban puppeteering everything.
Cuban and Bob Voulgaris running things, and I'm not interested in that. I want basketball people.
Here's a question. So one of my things, like I'm not even thinking of a name with GM. I want a GM that trusts scouts and is actually going to go out there and be a baller in the draft, because I think of where this team could be, differently. That being said, we don't have a draft pick this year, so their ability to scout really doesn't matter.
At least not within the next 12 months. It doesn't really, but
but that's something that's important to me, because I still, and we'll see, maybe I'll have to eat crow on it, but I still think that Saddiq Bey, I think that man, I'll give the whole Terrence Mann, dude. Nobody knew this guy was gonna fucking be a baller like that. No one. He's like Donovan Mitchell 2.0, right? Basically, is what it said. It just happened late in the year. But as far as Saddiq Bey, everyone knew it. Yeah. Everyone knew that Saddiq Bey was going to be a good player, right? So that's my one, and that's big, man. And then like Dennis Smith, the situation with him. It's just, like I said, it went into Luka. I'm giving it a reset. It all resets July 1 to see where it goes. There's a lot of time to make this ship right. And hell, we've seen coaches take teams to championships the first year. Look at Steve Kerr. So it very much could happen. It very, very, very much could happen right now and not reset anything. But man, dude, like, I don't want to believe some of the nonsense that I've been reading. And it's just funny to me. A story gets leaked. It's bullshit, according to Cuban. 24 hours later.
Less than.
Because the time clock, Monday, Cato releases his story, right?
Yep.
Tuesday, Donnie's fired. Wednesday, who's going to be the GM? Thursday, Rick steps down.
Yep.
There's rumors about Luka being upset, which he was, because him and Donnie are friends. A personal upset, not upset like I'm not signing. And here we are. Here we stand now, like trying to just. It's wild because instead of just thinking what they're going to do as a player, it's from the top to the. It's everywhere. Like, what are they doing for every single situation? And man, the next 5 years is going to be shaped in the next 10 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's. I mean, it could go, if you think about it. The width that it could swing in from good to bad, or all the variables are so crazy, and what kind of effect it could have on this franchise. Like you just look at other franchises that have swung so wildly because of a head coach hiring or a GM hiring or things like. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And you just gotta hope that Cuban, you just gotta hope they pick the right guys. Because the truth is, half the guys that get picked for head coaching jobs in the NBA, it's not like football to me, where when a guy gets picked for a head coaching job in football, because offense and defense are so separate, you can really determine, or it's a lot easier to determine who is good at this and who is good at that, and what scheme is, this, all the kind of minutia is easier to parse out. In basketball, the assistant coaches, I like when Terry Stotts got the Portland job, I knew who Terry Stotts was, but I couldn't tell you anything about him prior, other than he got the Portland job
in the NBA. And this isn't to damn the coaching, because man, it's being a coach. Like, look at Phil Jackson. Like being a coach means something.
Yeah.
To me, some of the most important things for being a coach are, number one, time management. Like, you controlling those timeouts can dictate. Like, look at Rick Carlisle game 1.
Yep.
That's the Mavs won because of his ability to stop. Like, he felt it. He knew, like when Kawhi posterized Kleba, he knew, like,
stop it.
Let's stop this game, man. Let's call the timeout.
Having your finger on the pulse of the ebbs and flows of the game.
Sure. And then adjustments, making adjustments in a series or in a game is also very, very important. I know that's one of the big knocks against Stotts, and one reason why Portland moved on is that he just, and players would make fun of it to Dame apparently too, just doesn't know how to adjust on the fly. Rick, I think, was very good at adjustments, so I'm intrigued to see that. One of Rick's biggest problems was trusting youth, with the exception of Luka, and rotations. It always took him longer than anyone to figure out how he was going to use them. Once he figured it out, it was fine. But you're looking at 10 games of like, what's going on here? Every season.
And when you've got a team like, the 2010, 2011 team, where, or any team from when he was hired through about 2014, you can bank on the fact that we're going to win 50 plus games. Sure. Those 10 games, they matter, but it's not that big of a deal. Whereas now, that's not where we're at. We're not an established veteran team.
No, because if that 10 games could be a play-in tournament, dude.
Absolutely.
The way it's set up now could be the difference between being, because you can't just be a 7 or 8 seed and be you're like, look what happened to Golden State. Golden State is a better team than Memphis, even with the injuries. And they play that. If that's a 3-game series, it's probably a different story, right?
Absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, man. I was very proud of Memphis. They played very good. They played really hard. John Moran is an absolute star, but they're not in the same stratosphere as Golden State with Curry.
No, not even close.
So I'm intrigued to see where it goes, man. I don't have any thought. Like, my thoughts, it's hard for me because everybody talks about Mejri, right? If that's how you pronounce it. It's like Salah Mejri is like the old Mav, player.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued by him, but at the same time, Toronto fell apart this year. Siakam, they think he's the guy. He might not actually be. It might actually be X or Y or Z. They can't even get a deal on Kyle Lowry at the trade deadline to get a draft pick back.
Masai Ujiri. Sorry, go ahead.
Ujiri, excuse me. Yeah, I was thinking of Salah as well.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't even get a trade. Like, you couldn't get Miami to give you some fucking shit for Kyle Lowry.
I know.
So those things kind of worry me. But once again, beggars can't be choosers. I think that me as the GM might be better than what's been going on. I kid. But, it's funny because the process has been somewhat right the last few years. Trading Curry for Josh Richardson and James Johnson was absolutely the right move. It was absolutely the right move. It just
on paper, it didn't work.
Absolutely. But you added defenders. And you know what? If we don't trade for Redick, which was also the right move, analytically, if we don't do that, James Johnson comes in very, very handy for our Mavs, and they might win.
Absolutely. And this is where it starts getting sticky, because you could very easily argue that the reason all of those things didn't work is because of Rick.
Right. We go to Rondo. We go to Rondo, dude. Yeah. Like Josh Jackson, I'm intrigued because I'm interested to hear what his money line is going to be, because what his agent tells him depends on what he's going to do. He can opt in and make $11 million, which I'll take. Dude, I think he'll be fine for $11 million. Most people are freaking out. Like, I think he would be one of the best deals in the league, possibly, if used correctly. But I'm thinking he's going to be more in the 14 to 16 range. He costs himself probably $10 million this year, at least.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Even if he does opt in, even if we decide would be a perfect piece to include in a trade.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. Sure.
I'm good either way.
Opting in does not mean he's going to be here. I mean, he's been involved in trades. He is a wing defender, a 3-and-D guy, and that's very valuable in today's NBA. Would you rather have Jay Crowder or Josh Richardson? I think Josh Richardson. Although Jay Crowder is playing phenomenal in the playoffs.
Jay's playing his ass off right now, and I always like Jay Crowder. So I'd probably take Jay Crowder, but 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. And I also think that Josh Richardson's head got fucked up. I think Rick Carlisle fucked his head up a little bit. I think him benching him, and I think he needed to bench him, but I think if Rick was smart, he would have, going into the playoffs, found a way to get Josh Richardson confident again going into the playoffs, because we desperately needed him to have some confidence in his shot and be a lot more comfortable playing alongside Luka. Because again, on paper, that dude is the picture perfect wing to play alongside Luka.
Sure. And that's why, I agree. That's what's so hard about this, because in the offseason, if I'm grading it, I'm like, okay, I love the Tyrell Terry pick. I don't like the Josh Green pick, but I like the trade. So, I gave it a solid B in my thoughts for what happened in the offseason. So just being a visionary and getting it. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what they're going to do. We're looking at we don't know what the NBA landscape's going to look at like next year. This seems like the most parity I've seen in the NBA in a very long time. The last 4 teams standing haven't won in 38 years. Yeah. Right. 2 of the teams have never won. And I just don't think that that's going to be the norm next year. I think that it balances itself back out. Brooklyn's healthy. Lakers are healthy. You look at these things and all of a sudden you're fighting against LeBron and AD. So we're not just thinking about how to get past a team like the Clippers, right? It's like, how do you get over the LeBron James healthy on a mission because he got eliminated in the first round? How do you get past the Nets who, didn't get it done, a la kind of like Miami their first year? It's going to be an intriguing narrative next year, man. And to me, if I was putting money on the books, I would pick the Dallas Mavs to be in the championship 2 years from now.
I see, and I'm not that confident yet. Because
if I was going to Vegas anytime soon, I would put $50 on Luka. Just 50 though. I'm not a big game, but I put 50 on Luka being the MVP next season, and I put another 50 on the Mavs being I don't know if it's a champ. We have to do winner, right? You can't just do in championship, but I would do representing the Western Conference 2 years from now.
I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas in 2 weeks. So if you want me to, I'll put that money down for you, sir.
Okay, I'll send it to you. I'll Venmo it to you. Yes, I know Luka for MVP next season, and for that, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going July 4th weekend, so I'll go put it down for you. I'll go to MGM Sportsbook and throw it down.
All right. So we've got hopefully Monday's podcast next week, we're going to be talking about the new coach and GM.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, who your picks? Who are your picks now for the remaining 4 teams? What do you think we're looking at for the finals, and who do you think is going to be getting a ring this year?
I have a really weird feeling that CP3 and Kawhi are going to be back game 3.
Yeah. Weird feeling. Yeah, I mean, CP3 ought to be. He's not even injured. It's just bullshit.
What a weird thing.
Yeah.
I've got Milwaukee versus Phoenix. Milwaukee winning in 5.
I think Milwaukee wins in 5. Okay. Yeah. I'm with you on Milwaukee, but and Phoenix, but I think Phoenix wins in 6.
Okay. All right. Well, we might have ourselves a little challenge or something when it gets closer. We'll see.
Absolutely.
I think Atlanta, I good for them, but damn, wow.
By the way, sorry, one other quick note. If by some I don't know, like Nate McMillan is still not officially their head coach and is not under contract.
What a tremendous job.
I would take Nate McMillan on this team like yesterday. Again, let's go. They need to be, as soon as the Hawks get eliminated, Mark needs to pick that phone up and offer him the job. I don't care if we have a GM or not.
That's another proof, because it was their biggest issue was just schemes and rotations.
Yep.
Like it was bad, and they just completely they traded Rondo away for Lou Williams, right? Yeah. That was the one move they made.
Yeah.
And they were already on a tremendous win streak before they made that move too.
So, yeah. And when they fired their head coach, they were something like in 10th place in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Fired him, I just said his name and now my brain isn't working.
Nate McMillan.
Thank you. Nate McMillan put him in place, and now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and all it took was just, like you said, balancing the rotations, controlling, ebbs and flows, and getting out of the way and letting your players play.
Yeah. No, sure thing. I think it's a good time to, we look at Atlanta, you see what happens there with a move. I think it's a good time to be a Mavs fan, obviously, because you've got one of the best players on the planet. But I think there's a lot of optimism to be had. As far as coaching goes, there's not too many decisions I think that would upset me. I'm a walk on eggshell type guy right now. What I mean by that is the coaches that I want them to pick are going to be coaches that would attract players. I do think that is it Becky Hammond? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I think Becky Hammond is going to be a badass fucking coach, and good for her. I just don't think that's right for what I want here, because I think that she's Popovich-like. She comes from the Popovich tree, and that's fine for a Charlotte Hornets. That's fine for a Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that is trying to get an identity, become a winning franchise again, and they're doing it all with young players. But for an organization that's trying to bring players in for a first-time head coach who comes from that school of thinking, thought, and everything else, I don't think that's what the Mavs need. So that's why I'm out on her.
And I don't disagree with you, but it wouldn't surprise me if she'd be the choice, because if there was Mark Cuban right now could really use some good PR.
Oh, I know. I thought about it.
He loves being groundbreaking and all. It just seems like a Mark Cuban move. But my bet is I think she goes to Portland.
Yeah.
I think she goes to Portland.
They're interviewing Billups in her second interviews, right? Today.
Yeah. Quick question. Where do you think Rick goes? Do you think
Boston. Yeah. 100%. It was going to be Boston or Milwaukee, but Milwaukee,
he's not getting it. They're going to keep Coach Bud.
Yeah.
But I think it's either Boston or he goes back to Indiana. One of the two.
Well, he loves Dwight Powell, so let's trade him Dwight Powell for Marcus Smart. Let's trade him.
Go.
Hey, coach, let's give you one of your guys.
They're not trading Marcus Smart this year. It's not happening. With Brad, with what's the coach? Brad. Sorry, brain's not working again. The guy who was their head coach, who's now their GM in Boston.
I don't know. They got that white boy, dude. I think that's why they did that. They got He is good, man. Is it not Wanamaker? What is his name? Dude, I'm telling you, he's a rookie this year. Peyton Pritchard.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling you, that's 100% why they moved on.
Yes, but the problem you got, Brad, whatever, I can't remember his last name, but
Brad Stevens.
There you go, Brad Stevens. And one of the things that is coming out today is like his love affair with Marcus Smart. Like he would elevate, talk so good about him and was disrespectful to other players, and that's part of the reason why him and Kimba didn't get along. But anyway, we'll see. It's a lot of shit up in the air right now in the association. So
it really is, man. It really is. So yes, this is the goal line fade, and wow, what a crazy week. Once again, I think it worked out. Brian and I are going to be doing reactionary things, and I think that's important. But it was kind of cool how we kind of just organically were able to sit in and kind of, because your opinions go when it's a new GM and Rick Carlisle, your opinion is completely different than it is today, I think. And we've kind of had a moment to kind of get all the facts, kind of breathe everything in, the likes, the hates, the thoughts, the everything. Like I went from disliking Rondo so much to now I'm kind of like, I still don't like the guy. I think he's kind of an asshole, but you know what? Maybe I've been unfair. And that's a lot. That's a lot for me. Dwayne Wade will never get that apology from me.
No. Dwayne Wade is my least favorite basketball player of all time ever. Ever. The only way I could dislike Dwayne Wade more is if he was an Eagles fan. That is it. That's the only way. That's the only thing. Everything else, I can't do it. But I'm with you. Fuck Rondo, just fuck him a little less.
Yes.
Just a little.
Even us, even we can forgive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't forgive him, but fuck him less.
All right, yeah, he wasted the last prime year of Dirk, motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for the goal line fade. As always, all the listens, thoughts, shares, anything like that, we appreciate so much. Like I said, we're going to keep producing content. We're going to keep talking, and this is going to be a fun little ride. I know what my thoughts are right now, and I've made them very, very clear. And I'm interested in what my thoughts are next week, because this is this has been a wild roller coaster this last 3 weeks in Mavs land. So it's actually helping us get through this baseball lull. Cowboys are right around the corner. Come on, Mavs, keep going.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Just 3 more weeks or so, and we're good. Give us 3 more weeks of content. Training camp starts.
Yes. All right, that is it. This is the goal line fade. I am Zach. He is Brian, and we're out. Peace.